Hey everybody, what's happening? All you peeps and football fans. It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 1 4 key game picks of the 2020 NFL season. Finally, the NFL is back. It's really going to be interesting to say what kind of a comeback are we going to see in the NFL because, look, I mean, we all are going through this together, everybody. I know we're going through this pandemic, and but maybe there's one good side to it, to the fact that the NFL is finally back, and I'm actually anticipating to see what is going to happen this NFL season. Now, I didn't make a video regarding the of division winners. Normally, it's one of my lower viewers video, because mostly everybody just gets more interested in what teams I'm going to pick for a particular week in the NFL. So I will put the winners of each division in the description below, along with my picks for all of my picks for week number 1, because the main point of this video, and I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, is NFL picks. And now week 1, as I state this in every video I make of the NFL season, week 1 is really the hardest week to pick NFL football games, because everybody's starting out fresh. All 32 teams are starting fresh. We don't know what to expect out of every NFL team, and obviously there's a lot of storylines heading into the season other than the obvious pandemic. Some NFL stadiums will have some fans, some will not. It's going to be interesting to see how that will play out throughout the entire season. So before I make my NFL picks for week number 1, and once again I always state this at the start of every NFL season in regards to picking football games. And my main point is, and I'm not going to repeat this over and over again, if you do use my NFL picks for gambling purposes, I am not responsible for your losses. So please don't at me, don't cry to me, or anything else for that matter. Remember, this is just entertainment purposes only. Remember, I'm as big football fan as a lot of us are in this country. And my job when I do these videos is just to pick NFL football games. So again, don't use my picks for gambling purposes. Whatever games you lose in regards to, if you use my picks, I am not responsible for your losses. Alright, getting that out of the way, let's talk about week 1, shall we? Finally, the regular season is here, and obviously the first game I'm going to talk about is the opening game, the Thursday night game between the Texans and the Chiefs. Now, the defending Super Bowl champions are a 9-point favorite in this game, and I actually agree with that. It's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs do this year. They won't have much competition in terms of the other teams in the AFC West, because really, I personally think the Chiefs are going to win that division again. Pretty much the same team is still intact. The offense is still pretty much there, and defense-wise, hopefully they fix a little bit of some problems they've had in the secondary. But look, I'm going to say something about the Texans here. When you talk about O'Brien and that coaching staff and the way that team has been managed lately, you don't know what you're going to get out of this team. What is going to be occurring for this NFL team? They've been such a huge mess. And I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're in a division that isn't really all that good. And look, the Houston Texans have a shot at winning the AFC South. But in terms of this game here, I look at it this way. They were in the playoffs. They had a lead against the Chiefs in the divisional playoff, but they choked that game away. So really right now, if I'm going to have to make a pick in how I see this game going out, look, the Texans didn't improve all that well. They didn't do well in the draft. The Chiefs should have a field day with this. The Chiefs are a 9-point favorite, as I stated earlier, and I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. I really think this won't even be a game on Thursday night. I expect this to be kind of a blowout. Don't be expecting a close game here. A lot of people say this game might be good. The Texans really didn't do much in the offseason in terms of how well they will in the draft as well. That's why it's easy pick. It's kind of an easy pick here. You got to go with the Chiefs or Chiefs over the Texans. All right, key game number 2. It is the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Surprisingly, the Vikings are a 2.5-point favorite in this game. I think that number might be a little bit lower towards kickoff, because these are two teams that are fighting for the NFC North, and they are almost evenly matched here. Now, in terms of offense-wise, really, Aaron Rodgers, he's really got to get Jimmy Graham going in terms of the passing game. But the bigger key really is Aaron Jones, their running back. The running back was huge for Aaron Rodgers last year, really eased off the pressure. And what better team that he played better more than any other NFL team last season, and it was the Vikings. He torched them. In both games, he torched the Vikings defense for nearly 200 yards of rushing in both meetings. So if I look at it this way, though, the running game is important for the Packers here. Defense-wise, they did lose a few players, and their defense really has to step up a little bit more this season, and let's see how that will play out. Now, the Vikings defense pretty much the same as last year, but in terms of, their Achilles heel is really the running game. The running game really hasn't done much in stopping the run in terms of the opposition. But in terms of offense for the Vikings here, this has got to be a big year for Kirk Cousins if he really wants to finally get the monkey off his back. Because, look, he got one playoff win last year in a big upset win over the Saints, but in the divisional round against the 49ers, the Vikings had no answer for that 49er defense, and they got whooped. I expect this is probably going to be one of the best games of the weekend, but I look at it from a standpoint here. I just think the running game, in terms of Aaron Jones, if he puts up another good performance against the Vikings defense, I like the Green Bay Packers in this one. Packers are an underdog in this game at 2.5, so I'm actually going to go for a little upset in this one here, even though I don't consider it an upset because these two teams are about as evenly matched. These are the only two teams I consider them fighting for the NFC North Division. So Minnesota's defense got to come up big against the Packers here, but I think the Packers will pull out a victory in this one here, and I like the Packers in this game, Packers over the Vikings. Key game number 3, and I think this is probably more of a game that I think a lot of us are going to be watching. The first meeting of the year between the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Saints are a 3.5 point favorite in this one, and I kind of agree. Whole new Buccaneers team. They picked off Tom Brady Tom Brady signed with the Buccaneers, and he brought his wingman with him, Gronkowski. This might be the only tandem that the Buccaneers have. I mean, really, their offense may have slightly improved, but really, I look at it from a defensive standpoint here. The Buccaneers, they're mediocre when it comes to defense. The Saints here, I mean, this is a game I'm actually probably going to be watching more than any other game in the rest of the weekend, other than maybe the Chargers. But I look at it from this game. This probably may be this could be a game, probably the game of the weekend here as well, depending on how both these two teams play. Now, the Saints, pretty much Drew Brees, this might be his final year in a Saints uniform, but he still has weapons all around him, and including Kamara. The running game is going to be huge for the Saints here. I just think the Saints have the better offense than the Buccaneers do. Defense-wise, I think is their Achilles heel in terms of this game. But do I expect this game to be a very close game? I think so. I think this will be a close game, but I'm still going to pick the New Orleans Saints in here. I think the Saints' offense is a tad better than the Buccaneers here, but it should be a good one this Sunday, and I can't wait to see what Tom Brady and that new look Buccaneers team can see if they can have a shootout with Drew Brees and the Saints here. So, but I still think the Saints have the better offense. Defense-wise, they're about just a tad better than the Buccaneers. Well, we'll see what happens on Sunday. I'm picking the Saints in this one here, Saints over the Buccaneers. And finally, key game number 4, the Sunday night game between the Dallas Cowboys and the LA Rams. Cowboys are a 3-point favorite in this one, and I agree. Cowboys pretty much the same team as last year. Do I expect this game to be close? It might be a close game, but I just think the Cowboys are a much better team. The Rams they lost a lot of players in the offseason, and they gambled last year, losing Cooks and some other players as well. I mean, really, remember, the Rams barely have a running game now. The only good player they have on this team is basically Kupp. Kupp is probably the only good player they have on that team. And I'm not really speculating to say on how this will play out between the Rams here, because really, you would think that they would be a much better team in a few years after they've been pretty good, but yet they've taken a step back. The Cowboys are somewhat of the same team. Their only competition in the NFC East is really the Eagles. And really, a lot of it's going to depend on how Dak Prescott plays this year. Can Amari Cooper step it up this year in terms of offense? Because really, they really need some good he's probably the only good wide receiver they have on that team. Defense-wise, they're not that great. Both teams' defense is really not that good. It's really going to come down to offense in this game. This game might be a shootout, but I just think the Cowboys are a much better team. I like the Cowboys in this one here to beat the Rams at SoFi Stadium on Sunday night. I like the Cowboys over the Rams. All right, everybody, that wraps up my 4 key game picks for week number 1. For all of my week 1 picks, please check the description below, and I will talk to you guys next week when I talk about my picks for week number 2. Take care and enjoy your football weekend.